always telling you I've got a spectacular show, but guess what? I've got a spectacular show for you today. Today, my guest is Jasen Rice from Lotpop. Now, when you talk about pre-owned vehicles, you talk about used cars, you talk about trends. I know there's a lot of people out there that depend on computerized models, and some of the founders of those computerized models have failed miserably recently. I'm not going to name any names, but last spring, they told you to sell off your inventory. That was a stupid ass thing to do, but they did. But anyway, today I've got Jasen Rice from Lotpop. You want to know how to market used cars. You want to know how to improve your rate of travel. You want to know how to make greater profitability. And especially if you want to know how to sell more cars with internet sales. Lotpop has a whole program designed for you. Ladies and gentlemen, let's meet the man. Here he comes.
Right there I am.
How you doing, Jasen?
I'm doing awesome. Awesome. You know, as the weather's breaking and things are opening up more, it can't be any better, you know?
Oh, me and Debbie are going to break out. I guess you saw the newsletter.
Yeah. You got the vaccines going and hitting the road, huh?
We got the vaccine 3 weeks ago. We're going to eat in restaurants again. We're going to shop in grocery stores. We're going to make a trip to Florida. We got a brand new dog. Life is beautiful.
Yeah. We're in the same boat. We got a new dog too, about a month or so ago, and a little 3 or 4 month old puppy. So yeah.
What'd you get?
My wife brought home a little French bulldog. Seems like the popular dog nowadays. Yeah.
Yeah, we got a little King Charles Cavalier because our previous dog Sadie was 13 years old and she succumbed to old age last summer, and you know, we love that dog dearly. So we got another King Charles, but we got a tricolor this time. We didn't get the Blenheim blonde color. We got the 3-color. Oh, Sophie, she's just absolutely insane. I mean, that dog is a little gremlin. She's chewing everything right now. So we're in that stage.
Well, we got 2 other dogs, and one's mixed that we adopted, and then one's a pit bull. And it's funny, this little bitty 5-6 pound French bulldog, she just goes toe to toe to that pit bull and just puts her in the corner. Yeah, the pit bull's so gentle. He won't hurt her to fly. He just he'll growl. He sounds ferocious, but he won't touch her, and he'll let her pick on her. She biting his ankles, and so it's fun. She don't stop, man. She's not afraid of nothing.
Hey, Jack Bankston showed up. We're starting to get a little audience building up here. How's your business, Jasen? How's Lotpop doing?
You know, it's good. And, you know, it's funny how as things slow down, people reach out for help. And then when things speed up, we're doing pretty good right now. So we're running a little bit of that right now, but it's good and bad timing, though, because we just got 2 great partnerships that happened. One is VinQ, and what we're doing there, they happen to be, so there's inventory management tools out there. There's like Dealers Link, there's Max Digital or First Look, there's Viato. VinQ is one of them that's fairly new. They're local out here in Kansas City, so we've gotten to know them fairly well. And one of the owners actually owns a car dealership. So he's a car guy selling cars using their products. So we just got to know each other well. And they're sharing some retail data with us for all of our clients. What helps with that is we're getting, you know, one of the things I tell dealers a lot, and this is kind of breaking news, I guess. I need to do a press release on this. But, you know, when they look at wholesale numbers, they got multiple resources, MMR, Black Book, Gauss, NADA, Kelley Blue Book. They're looking at all this wholesale data. But when it comes to retail data, a lot of times they just run to their one inventory management tool, whatever it is. And so I'm like, well, why don't we have multiple retail data points to help you? Hey, if you got Black Book and NADA, why not have this tool and then maybe that tool? So we've got some partnership with them. They're allowing us to use some retail information, little sample sets of their demand and sales, what vehicles or sales are listed similar. So a dealer, again, whatever system they're on that we're helping them with, we have another resource. And then another one was LotLinks. And LotLinks has a lot of Google Analytics, if we can pull that from the dealer. So it's their own information on what's happening on their site, but also they have demand indexes and market pricing and what vehicles are leaving and selling for. So now not only dealer, if they have their own inventory management tool, they can have two and three other resources help with retail data. So we just last week kind of launched these 2.
You guys are super data driven. I'm really impressed.
Well, yes and no. I don't like AI as far as, a computer replacing a used car manager. That I don't like that at all. I just want the dealers, especially now when cars are going for so much money right now, they're paying retail plus at the lane and wondering how
It's
they're
a
going to resell it.
seller's market.
Oh, it's such a sell. And so to me, I'm like, okay, if you've got that kind of asset that you're spending that much time and energy just to get on your lot, would you rather have more or less information to make that decision on? And so, we really focus on, again, hence the name Lotpop, is what's happening on your lot. Let's figure out like you're saying, seller's market. When it's a seller's market, your data is more important than the market data. When cars are flying off your shelf and you got a ton of customers, you just got to focus on what's going on.
I am so pleased to hear you say that, because everybody's all tuned in on who's selling the cheapest cars in the market. How we're doing the car limbo. How low can you go? I mean, quit it.
Yeah. Well, and you think about it, we've hit a plateau, I think. To be blunt, if no one knows who or what I've been doing, like in 2005, I started out with a company called Empower Auto. Matter of fact, I still have the card here, Empower Auto. That was in 2005. That's a company that you now know as vAuto. And I spent 8+ years with vAuto. So, in 05, 06, it wasn't until 06 or 07, vAuto became what it was. It used to be Empower Auto. And, and so it's retail data. And then, there was Max Digital out at the time, and First Look was out, I think, when Red Bumper came. But basically, it's been 15 years since the whole look at retail data, not wholesale data transition happened, right? The whole industry shifted. But it's been 15 years and everybody's in the game now, right? And like you said, it's either a race to the bottom or just kind of trying to do gross or volume. But to me, it's like a exercise program or diet, right? At some point in time, let's say you want to lose 20 pounds and you lose 10 right away. And then you get to 11 or 12 and you hit this plateau and no more weight's coming off anymore and you don't know what's going on. Well, your body's just adjusted to that new diet and you got to shake things up. And I think the industry of used cars over 15 years, everybody's in this game now and we hit this plateau. So it's like, okay, how do we go from here to get back, try to gain grounds?
10 years ago,
Yep.
10 years ago, I stood on stage in Baton Rouge, Louisiana for the Louisiana State Dealers Convention. And one of the founders of the auto movement, the retail race to the bottom movement, the guy we both know well, he and I were both on stage. And I said, you're going to reach a point of saturation where you can't go in the men's room and poop out some more customers. There's only so many people in the market. Mm-hmm. And when everybody gets a vAuto or a vAuto type format, it's going to level out.
Yeah.
Because everybody's playing the same game.
Mm-hmm.
That's what's happened. I predicted that. I've got it in writing, in magazine articles, in speeches, where I predicted if you were in the beginning, you were sailing high.
Oh, yeah.
You were realizing true velocity.
Yeah.
But you're not realizing true velocity today because everybody else is doing the same thing.
Well, and again, that's why we pivot away from them. I'm not and don't ever want to be an inventory management tool. There's plenty of those out there looking at market data. What I want to focus on is internally things that you could control, right? I can't control what the guy down the street's willing to sell his for and prices for and what his photos, what his descriptions, what his process is, but I can control mine. So let's look internally, figure out what's not working on our lot, figure out what cars are causing those problems, and then log into your management tool then to go look at market data and everything else. Don't run to the market tool first to make decisions just based on what the guy down the street's doing. You could be selling your 17s at a quicker pace. Your Fords on a Ford lot, right, is not as sensitive to the market as a Ford on a Hyundai lot, or vice versa. So, just taking a Ford F-150, running to the market and deciding to price it based on what the guy down the street's doing, doesn't make, and that's internal instincts. Most used car managers know that, right? And they
I have many times said that and didn't put it in those words, and you just gave me a revelation. I mean, and I hope a lot of people watching the broadcast get that. Off-brand merchandise is a different situation than in-brand merchandise.
Yeah. Oh yeah. And not only, it's not just inventory management tool, market data, and I'll explain that in a minute. It's also these third-party listing sites. Now, to be blunt, I do think dealers want to be on these sites only because you want to be where that buyer's eyes are. People are going to be on autotradercars.com. No different than I want to be in print, radio, TV, and I'm going to be in multiple platforms. I'm not one of those guys that said just focus on your own website and dump all the money there. I think these people are going to be out there, so I got to have some exposure. But you got to understand how those sites work. But I'm also not there to satisfy those rankings, great price, good price, bad price, and so forth. They all have them. But for an example, one of them, the third-party site, everybody's kind of aware of and not very happy with right now. The rep was at one of our dealerships, and they said, hey, that's at a fair price. You need to lower it and get it to a good price, or vice versa. It's either a good price and they wanted to get them to a great price. And they said, here, we say if you price it here, move it to a great price. And the guy looked in their system and said, yeah, but I'll be priced at 93% of market. And then he looked at his own data and says, hey, these sell at 27 days at 97% off my lot. So why would I price it at 93% just to satisfy your rankings, right? If you know your own data and you know how and again, I think it was a Dodge Ram or Ram truck. That's no longer Dodge, but Ram truck on a Chrysler lot, right? So he's like, why do I need to price this at 93% just so you could say great deal when I know they leave my lot at 97%? And so again, just knowing how your lot goes, I'm not here to satisfy the third-party listing sites or, the guy down the street. I got to figure out what's happening on my lot first.
Caleb's got a question on the screen for you.
So what do you recommend then make best price decisions on your lot? Okay. I wish my t-shirts were here. I just ordered some new t-shirts. I did this hashtag WTF, used car managers. And our WTF stands for work the facts. So play on words. Yes. But it's a play on words. What are you thinking? So work the facts. And one of the things that we look at with our tool is to be able to figure out what is wrong with your lot. Let's give an example. We're very much about age management bucket, age management. So if my 31 to 45 age bucket, let's say 20% of my current inventory is sitting in my 31 to 45 bucket. If I go look at my sale rate over the last 2 weeks, not 30 days, not 45 days, just in the last 2 weeks, if 20% sitting here, but I'm only selling 15% out of that bucket in the last 2 weeks, if I don't change anything, I'm going to have 5% bleed through to the next bucket, right? I'm only selling 15% with 20% sitting there. I need to increase my sale rate to sell out of that bucket before they bleed through. So that's one issue. So I go, okay, we got a problem there. Let's fix that. But what about, let's say the same situation happens on, let's say, model years. Maybe I have 20% of my inventory in 2017s, and I'm only selling 15% of those. If I don't change anything, 5% will continue to bleed through an age. Let's go to segment, intermediate cars. Again, let's say 20% of my inventory is in intermediate cars, only selling 15%. Or price bucket, 15 to 17. So if I know I have a problem in my 31 to 45, and I click on that to figure out what cars are in there, and then all of a sudden there's a 2017 that I'm heavy in, and it's an intermediate car that I'm heavy in, and I haven't changed the price in 10 days, and it's not converting online. No one's clicked on it. I haven't had an appointment. Those are all facts on your lot that you need to do something about. And you can't argue with that. It's an age bucket that's bleeding through. You're heavy in 17s, heavy in intermediate cars. You haven't changed price in 10 days. There's nobody converting on it. What do you want to do? And so now I know that's a car, that's an issue, a bucket issue. That's a car I got a concern. Then I'll go to the market and say, okay, should I adjust it or should I not? Or
so your first action buttons are actually in your own inventory, your own rate of travel, your own sales, your own pricing, in your own inventory selection. It's all in the statistics of your own inventory first,
because you could control that, right?
Yeah.
You know that. That's your problem, not the market. You can't say, well, that market day supply is too high. They're selling. Okay, well, that's the market data. This is your stuff. This is your lot. You can't escape this. So now what? Now you punch them in the eye with those facts. What do you want to do about it? Okay. And again, you don't have to change. Go look at the leads. See if you got any leads. See if you followed up with those leads. Maybe that's the problem. Maybe you got snow in the background and it's spring now, or maybe it had leaves in it and we haven't had leaves on our trees for 6 months and customer knows it's been sitting on your lot. Who knows but that's a problem car Now go to the market data, figure out where your price. Once you tell me that, I don't almost care what the day supply or the price market. I know that's a problem, and I either got to adjust or do something about it, right? And so that's why I say, work your facts first before you go run to the market data.
Absolutely. So now I'm hearing a lot of great things about Lotpop, and this is Jasen Rice from Lotpop if you just tuned in. Anyway, what I'm hearing is that your people are like raving fans with their hair on fire. They're claiming increased sales. They're claiming increased profits. I didn't pay those people to say that, but they are. So what's the magic formula? What's the secret recipe?
Ours, we call it first 30. I mean, have wristbands that I pass out to dealers. I've sent out probably 3,000 of these over the years. I've got a box sitting here that anybody wants some, go to our website. You'll see hashtag first 30. What first 30 is, and you can have gross and volume, but we all know that the best time to make the most money on a car is when it's fresh, right? It's a depreciating asset. As of most time recently, it's been appreciating, but it's a depreciating asset. So the sooner you get off of it, the better your gross profit is. Most dealers don't struggle with gross because they're cheap selling fresh cars. Most of them are struggling with gross because they allow cars to bleed through an age, and they're in a negative equity situation when they sell them. 30% of their sales are going on aged cars where they're not making any money. So if you could focus on the first 30, and the best performing stores will do 60 to 70% of their sales in the first 30 days. But in order to do 60 to 70% of your sales in the first 30 days, where all the gross is, it's a trickle down effect. So by focusing on first 30, in order to sell 60 to 70% in the first 30, you have to have fresh inventory there in the first place. You can't have 30% of your car's age. You got to have 70% fresh to sell 60 to 70% fresh. Then to be able to do that, you also have to buy effectively, transport quickly, service quickly, photo descriptions fast, price competitive out the gate. I didn't say aggressive. You can give a car a shot if you want to price it high to the market. Do that for maybe 2 weeks, or as long as you can, as long as you're still selling 60 to 70% in the first 30 days. If you're not,
say that one more time, because what I'm sort of getting there is you say price high initially, give a car what I call a fighting chance to make a profit.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and you can, like I said, I don't care where most dealerships price out the gate. I then, especially in the first 2 weeks, because it's going to take sometimes 5 to 14 days for a dealership to get photos, descriptions, and stuff done. Let some salesman put a customer on the car, something like that. But if a dealer continues to struggle to sell enough fresh, then maybe they're just too high out the gate, and then we'll adjust. But it also, when I say that, each car stands on its own too, right? That local trade that's 8 years old with 50,000, I can be at 110. But if I go get a Chevy Malibu rental rocket, I might have to be below market out the gate. But I've got a different plan for that car also than I do my trade-in. So each car stands on its own. So yeah, if you want to try 105, 110% above market for a while, just don't let it sit there for 20, 30, 40 days if nothing's happening. That was a common theme I've seen over the 8+ years I traveled, and I literally stepped in. I've heard you say this too. I've physically been in over 1,000 stores across the country. And, the biggest dealers that had an aging problem was mostly because they lost focus. You have a used car manager that handles 100 used cars or 70, whatever it is, but they're also responsible. As soon as they walk in the morning, they got a heat deal in service. They got a message from a salesman calling in sick. They got the auction wanting to pick up a car. They got the trade from the first customer that's coming in the morning. And so they handle what's happening in their face. And what was going on then, the only time they really attacked their inventory was probably between lunch, stuffing a sandwich down their face and trying to do price changes and desking a deal. So what happened was they typically would focus on the fresh cars because they needed to get them online, photoed, and priced. And then the boss was on them about aged cars, so they go attack aged cars. And then they get back to their hustle and bustle throughout the day. And what I found was the reason why most dealers kind of struggled was they lost focus of the cars that are no longer fresh and no longer aged, because that's where all their energy went. So I would see cars that are 30 days old that they haven't touched since day one. because it's not aged and it's not fresh. I see a 21-day-old car they haven't touched in 21 days because it's no longer a 50-day-old car. And so what was going on, these middle bucket cars, these 20 to 50-day-old cars got ignored because they're not fresh, they're not aged, until all of a sudden, oh shit, this car's 59 days old. I better start dropping the price because the boss is on me on age. And then they drop it too much. And so that's the thing that I knew we needed to focus on was, if I was sorting an inventory or manage it, if I just had a log in a system and said, here, manage my inventory, the first thing I would go to is probably last price change. I'd want to go see when's the last time they adjusted this car. And I wouldn't go more than 2 weeks before I've done something with the car. And so again, the first 30, it all requires you to buy right, or at least buy, transport, service, photo. So it's a trickle down that affects everybody, your service guy, your get ready person, your sales staff, and so when you can focus back on that first 30, increase that sale rate, it makes you good across the board. If I had one place that, if I told the dealer to go, it'd be that. But go ahead.
A lot going on. What's going to happen in the next couple of months? And I know you don't like to be in the crystal ball, but still, what are we looking forward to?
Well, let's talk traditionally, and I still think we'll fall into that platform a little bit. It'll be late, but it'll probably fall. Usually, and it depends if you're up north, it'll be a month later than I'm saying right now, but most mid-down states will fall into the fact that between around mid-February, which is now, and mid-April, things are going to be good. So I would say the next 45 days, things will be good to about into April, because about that time, the tax buyers, end of the year bonus checks showed up already. The tax buyers already are bought. And then weather breaks. I'm going camping this week. People are going to start doing mulch and yard work and kids' soccer games and have cabin fever and want to get out and don't want to have to be tied up at a dealership all weekend. It's finally at 70 degrees out. I want to be stuck at a dealership all day.
There's another wild card. And the other wild card is the manufacturers are cutting back production because suppliers aren't giving them the parts.
Yeah. So,
and all of a sudden, new cars are cutting back. All the domestics have cut back production, and some of the middle line imports have cut back production.
Oh yeah.
So you're not going to have the new cars, and people are going to be looking for late model used is going to be heavy duty premium merchandise.
Oh yeah, last April when COVID hit, I did an article in automotive auto remarketing and stuff saying I think CPO will be the winner out of all this because of those things, right? You can't buy new or can't afford to buy new, and I can buy a certified pre-owned, and it's a benefit for the dealership. Rates are good. So I would say next 45 to 60 days, everything's going to be good traditionally. And then we'll hit a wall, come April, May, and June we'll kind of hit a wall industry wise. Now used cars might stay strong again, to your point, with not new cars. And then the other caveats is that, again, that's not traditional, is once the stimulus money hits, what are people going to do with that? Are they going to catch up from the holiday money that they spent that they probably might not have had due to COVID shutdowns and stuff? Will it go to trips and vacations or getting the house fixed up because they've been stuck in this, right? A lot of people did a lot of housework and stuff. So where would that stimulus money go? If it goes like it did last time into cars, again, we're currently seeing it. There's more sales than listings, or more sales happening. So supply and demand dynamic, it's very much a seller's market right now. And so that could continue if not only stimulus money hits, that'll last 30, 45 days. But then if the economy starts opening back up, people are getting back into their cars. They're not doing ride share. Maybe a car that's been sitting, hardly been driven all year for the past year, right? Your cars might not have been driven. And if they start acting up, or you finally get a fresh air and you're like, man, I want something new and vigorous. Let's trade this in and get something new because we're fine, So that might stimulate some more car sales if people finally getting out. Economy still backing up, and I think people are going to be more likely to hit the road in their car than an airplane, right? So that could keep the market strong all year. But traditionally, I would say we'll slow down in about 60 days. So I never, and just like when the shutdown was happening, I never want to be too much of a speculator. Just carry to your current sales rate. When things were shutting down, I was telling dealers, just carry to your sale rate. Don't overbuy, don't oversell. Just if you're selling 20 a week, buy 20 a week. If it picks up to 30 or 40 a week, buy 30 or 40. Don't just go speculate and think it's going to be there and then you're stuck holding the bag, or vice versa. Don't start dumping and then all of a sudden you need some. So just carry and sell to your current sale rate, and then see what happens. And I'd rather stay consistent than be caught in the bubble, right? If the bubble pops, because the economy can go south, right? I mean, whoever thought the stock market get to 30,000? When's the housing market and all those forbearances on car payments for, the delayed payments on houses and cars? When's that going to come due? And foreclosures are going to start happening. Repossessions are going to start happening because the COVID safety net goes away and the economy starts going down. The problem is what we're seeing right now is like you're saying, not as many new cars can be sold, but we haven't seen 20% get shifted to used cars. There hasn't been a 20% uptick in used car volumes, right? Sales are probably about the same. It's just the inventory is less. Okay. So we're selling about, a matter of fact, I think it was down 9%. I want to say it was down, used cars was down year over year percentage wise, but it seems like it's a boom market. It's just the inventory's level down 20%. So it just seems like there's more buyers out there. It's just the fact there's just less cars. So that's the other warning I give to dealers. Just because dealers were carrying 150 to sell 100, now they're carrying 100, selling 100, and they think if they get back to 150, they'll sell 150. They might, but they might not. Like you said, there's a market cap at some point in time. These new car buyers aren't turning into used car buyers yet. Right? Have you bought a used car in a while? You're mostly a new car buyer.
No, I'm a new car person, and there's only 200 million licensed drivers in the United States.
Yeah.
I mean, you're not going to create new potential buyers. And
Would you turn into a used car buyer?
No.
Exactly. That's what I'm saying. There's used car buyers and they just haven't transitioned. Even if if you said, hey, I want my Escalade back. I miss having Escalades, right? You drove those all the time. And they say, hey, it'll be 3 months. You'll just wait the 3 or 4 months. You're not going to go buy a used Escalade.
I had 9 Escalades and only one of them was a CPO.
Yeah.
And
so
I didn't keep that one long.
The new car buyers aren't turning into used car buyers. So that's not yet. They might in a year, but I think by then supply's back up and everything's back to normal. Incentives would probably be huge because OEMs aren't going to lose all those sales without a fight. And so once they be able to build again, I bet incentives get huge at that point in time to get the sales back up.
I could see that. What does Lotpop do?
Well, that's a hard question. No,
I mean, what do you do? I mean, I crawled all over your website and I got a pretty fair idea. And, sometimes I ask questions to which I know the answers, but still, I see the results. I see the testimonials. I hear the people talking about you, and I've heard about you a lot longer than I've known you. And it's all been positive. I've never heard a negative about Lotpop ever. If it's not a raving report, I don't know them. So tell me about you.
Well, our website might be vague because that way maybe you can reach out to us, right? But no, we essentially start out as, I would say, more of a consulting firm in a way, not to where we fly in and consult you for 2 or 3 days and move on. We were actually we do weekly calls with our stores. That's the main package. And we were pulling data out of their inventory management tools and other places to help on that weekly call because we're not in the store, so we have to have outside perspective.
So you're having weekly top management meetings with statistics and okay. So you're doing data analytics and
yes,
and then you're getting back and you're telling them what that data interprets in your estimation what they need to do. Yeah,
but we did all this off of Google Sheets for 6+ years, and just last year, February, going into NADA, we turned that all into a software product. And what I'm proud about that is right now, and you know this, Jim, a lot of these software products get made thinking they could come up with this new idea and sell it to dealers, right? We've not only my 8 years on the road, but the 6 years of building this out was time-tested data that was ran through Google Sheets and best practices over 15 years, and then go, all right, now let's turn this into a software where if I can give it to them instead of once a week, every day, they can make quicker and faster decisions every day. And so we just launched the software last February. And then of course, March, COVID hit and shutdowns happened. So,
yeah, Jason, I get 10 calls a week. Mr. Ziegler, you got to look at our new software. It's going to revolutionize the industry. We are the disruptors. Yeah, sure you are. Yeah, okay, yeah. Okay.
Yeah, and so that's what I'm so proud of. This is blood, sweat, and tears into what mattered, and then let's build a tool. So we did that, and then but that just happened in February last year, and then COVID hit, and so we've revamped up. We grew 25%. We're again one of the fastest companies, growing locally, all that kind of good stuff. So we've had, and then now with that new partnership, but yes, we focus on weekly calls, but now we have a software that dealers can use every day. And they, if dealers are in there every day, our weekly calls aren't usually as important now because, but that's usually our biggest asset. I have dealers for 5-6 years since I've started this, 7 years now, that could easily just not do our calls because they know our system good enough. They're in there 5, 6, 7 times a day, every day, and they're our top performers. But they just like having that accountability, second set of eyes, and an accountability partner. So our strengths in our calls, but we have a software that dealers can use themselves on a lower discounted rate. But again, I charge less than what a good consultant would cost in one day of coming in house. You get that for the whole month. You get the software, you get a team member, you get somebody looking at all your photos and descriptions and doing your virtual lot walk for you, spoon feeding you cars that need photo problems fixed and stuff. So we put our team, we really roll up our sleeves. We put our team behind that store. And I'm not knocking other vendors. I know there's but I've been in the vendor world. There's not too many vendors as ingrained with their stores than we are. When we're talking with them every week, we're emailing them every day. We're giving them takeaways every day. We're looking at their photos and descriptions, so we're more of a team member than a vendor, I say.
Fantastic. How can people get in touch with you?
Lotpop.com obviously is the easiest one.
Lotpop, no S on the end. Lotpop.
Nope, Lotpop.com. And then YouTube, Lotpop Inc. is out there. If you go look, I have almost close to 300 video tips over the last 5 years. I do one about every week. And so that's just free resources that I put out there. I try to get back to the industry that's been great to me. So I'm not here to sell you something. Everything, I do, you can do yourself. It just takes a lot of time and manpower. And so that's where we say, well, let us do the time and manpower with you. But, that's our asset. But Lotpop Inc. YouTube /Lotpop Inc. is our YouTube channel. And that all goes on podcasts too. So if anybody likes to listen to car talk, on the drive to work or working out, it's all on iTunes and any other podcast form. Facebook, of course.
Is that what it looks like?
Oh, that would be YouTube. Facebook, that might find it, but Jasen on the Facebook. The one that's an O-N out there is a bad account, but Jasen. We also have it. One of the things that we do is a 20 group. And it's a used car 20 group. We're meeting in May. We actually did it in October. We did it in January of this year. Last January, we had 30 plus dealers there. So they weren't afraid to travel with the COVID stuff. And it is some strong managers in there and dealers in there. I'm moderating it, and we've got spots, probably 3 or 4 left in this 20 group, but I'm gonna handle 2 of them. So I'll go up to 40 different dealers and 2 different sets of meetings, and that's one of our strengths too.
Try that.
Yeah, there you go. Yeah. There you go.
So they want to see all the videos you've got online. YouTube.com/Lotpop Inc. Ignore the Facebook post I put up, but that'll do it.
Yep. Like I do one of those live every week, and then just kind of what's happening and what dealers should be looking at.
What kind of a phone number can they call?
314.
Okay, slow. I'm a slow typist. Got it.
568.
Yeah.
2754.
Okay.
There you go. Now I'd say too, like I said, with our 20 group, we obviously have access to financials and stuff, and we discuss their growth and stuff. And if you take the month of June to November of last year, and again, by November and October, things were slowing down for a lot of dealers. Our dealers in that group, their volume only went up 4% because the supply wasn't there. But here's the kicker. Their front gross, so the volume went up 4%, but their front gross went up 23%. F&I went up 10%. And they did this on average with $500,000 less in inventory a month. So our average.
Repeat that. Wait. I want to be sure I heard that correctly. Their gross went to where?
So the gross went up, the front end gross went up 23%.
23%?
Yep. F&I or back end went up 10%. Okay. And when they basically went from carrying 120 cars selling 80 to carrying 100 cars selling 106. So they carried about $500,000 less in inventory. Okay. To do that. They carried less cars,
higher gross, higher F&I.
Higher F&I, and they did it all with less cars in inventory.
Less cars in inventory.
Yes. So the again, that's just looking at they went from here. Give you an idea. In 2019, they carried 130 cars a month and sold 107. In 2019, carried 130 to sell 107. 2020, they carried 100. 30 less cars, so 30% drop in inventory, but sold 110. Okay, carried 100, but sold 110.
And they can do that right now with the current economic conditions, the current rate of travel in the market.
It's the same season. June, which was good COVID, till November, which was when things started slowing down in October. So we're going through the same transition right now. So dealers going to have to do more with less right now because they can't. If a lot typically carries 100, they're lucky if they're carrying 70 right now.
You're going to have reduced inventory, greater rate of travel, greater profitability.
Correct.
There's all sorts of metrics that you have to tune in to get this to happen.
Yes. So again, what's that?
Is that the right phone number?
314-568-2754. Yes, sir.
Fantastic. Just want to be sure we got that. That's on the sidebar as well. Okay, fantastic. This has been informative. What else before we finish this broadcast? What else would you like to tell people about the used car market? About their anything we've left out of this broadcast?
And not so much used, it's just in general. Right now, they're going to be very busy. They're selling a lot of, they have a very little amount of cars, a lot of customers after them. So what happens, especially with internet sales or leads, is we tend to go after low-hanging fruit, right? Because the people calling us back, we're so busy, we don't have time to follow up with that lead from 7 days ago. So right now, a lot of dealerships are going to be leaving a lot of leads open. And so if things do start slowing down in April and May, they're going to be like, oh, guys, come on, let's get back on the phone, let's call, and let's get back. And so they're going to need to catch up with all these leads they weren't able to follow up with. So I would beg you or tell you, stay consistent in that follow-up process. Continue to call and email these people and reach out. Don't just go after low-hanging fruit. And maybe if you have to staff up to do it right now, some dealers might be able to. Their profits have been running pretty good. So I would try to staff up or make sure I have a team member there to follow up with the leads that are falling through the cracks as we're staying busy right now. Because I guarantee if it does start slowing down like it traditionally does in about May time, you're going to wish you would have stayed on top of those March and April leads. And because those people would be, those April leads would be showing up in May if they didn't buy. So just stay consistent with your follow-up and don't let those people fall through the cracks as you're getting busy. Ladies
and gentlemen, this is Jasen Rice, Jasen Rice, from Lotpop, lotpop.com. If you want to look them up on YouTube, they've got a whole bunch of information on YouTube. There it is right there. This is Jim Ziegler, the Alpha Dawg. We're going to sign this broadcast off. It's been a pleasure, big guy.
Thank you, sir.